All right, welcome everybody to Be More Kansas City. I think this is number 18 now.
Wow.
Cheers. Thank you so much. I'm here with Caylin and Jared, who are a part of Yvonne and Mitchel. They've created Yvonne and Mitchel. YVONNE, AND, and MITCHEL.
Yep.
Find them on Instagram, TikTok, and their website, Yvonne and Mitchell, all the way through. Very easy to find. We'll link it right down here. So welcome first and foremost, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. My first question, right out the gate, y'all upcycle. They upcycle clothing. I should have mentioned that. What is that?
So upcycling is essentially taking old, used fabrics, discarded fabrics, and repurposing them into garments that are of higher quality and value. You could upcycle anything, really. There are people who upcycle furniture. We just specialize in clothing right now. And we've been doing that we've been running the business for 5 years.
Okay.
But we've been selling upcycled garments for 2?
Yeah, 2 years.
2.
About
yeah.
2 years? Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 years you've been in business. What was it before the clothing?
We were just selling vintage pieces, just reselling.
Okay.
We started in college where we met, University of Missouri. And one of our favorite things to do, still to this day, is go thrifting together. All of our clothes are thrifted, our furniture, everything. We really, really enjoy it. And so we also really had a shared love of fashion and design and clothing. So when we got together, that kind of exploded. And we were just spending all of our time doing that together. We'd get complimented on what we were wearing. And back then, I feel like thrifting wasn't as well known as it is now.
What year was that?
This was
2016, 2017.
Okay.
And I kind of grew up thrifting, antiquing with my mother. That's kind of what got me started in it. And
likewise, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we were selling vintage clothing the end of our freshman year at Mizzou into our sophomore year. And my mother taught me how to sew at a pretty young age, like right before high school. And I didn't really use those skills too much in high school, but after starting the vintage clothing business with Caylin, I started kind of putting my own touch on things here and there. And it slowly got to the point where people seemed to like our one-off. 2 years ago, we switched completely to selling one-of-one upcycled pieces.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We would be thrifting, and he would set aside different pieces, maybe like damaged pieces that had holes or stains, stuff that was less likely to be worn. And he'd just kind of play with it, sew here and there. And as the years went on, I told him, I was like, this stuff is really cool. Like, this is cooler than the vintage that we're reselling. And not only that, it's your personal design. And these are one-of-one pieces that you can't find anywhere else in the world.
That's the best part of it,
right?
I think.
Right? I agree, because everyone deserves to feel special. And clothing is such a cool avenue for self-expression. And whenever you own and you wear a piece that makes you feel special and makes you feel good, that energy, like, you carry that with you and you remember that, 100%. And so being able to provide that experience for people was something that we thought was so cool. We were like, we should do this. And prior to starting the business, he had shared with me when we first met that ever since he was younger, he had always wanted to be a designer. He's really interested in shoes, and he would, design cars when he was younger. His brothers were telling me about that. And so he'd always wanted to be a designer. And when I saw these pieces that he was making, I was like, you need to do this. This is something that you've thought about your whole life. Now's the time. And I'm here to help you and figure out how we can pivot the business from just reselling vintage to reselling your own designs. And also, I feel like it helped us become more sustainable, because then we could hone in on trying to fix things that, if not very many people know how to sew. So if you see something that has holes or stains at the thrift store, you're less likely to buy it compared to the other stuff. And we learned a few years ago, I think the statistic is like 3/4 of thrift store discards go straight to the landfill. So all this basically 75% of the stuff that doesn't get sold at thrift stores doesn't even get a chance to be recycled into new textiles or different fabrics. It just goes straight to the landfill. And textile waste is a really big issue right now. So we thought,
what is that textile waste?
it's basically just all of the discarded clothing.
Okay.
Clothing nowadays is made out of certain fabrics, modern fabrics like different kinds of polyester, that can't be recycled.
Synthetic, a lot of synthetic, a lot of plastic in these fabrics, and
In the polyester. Okay.
And-
a lot of these new fabrics that it seems like they're coming out with a new fabric every week. But
Yeah. And 1%, less than 1% of today's fabrics can be recycled because of the type of material, which means that 99% just goes straight to the landfill. And we're talking worn clothes, but also brand new items that don't even get bought or worn. They just take them to the landfill. All these fast fashion brands that are making thousands of one product, and if they only sell a couple hundred, then the rest just get thrown away. And because of those modern fabrics and the plastics, they don't disintegrate. It's hard to actually, waste. It just kind of piles up, and that's what happens with this clothing. And so we thought it was really cool being able to hone in on the clothing that was most likely to end up in the landfill, and he could try to bring it back to life and repurpose it into something new that someone would wear again. So
I love the well, it's a twofold thing. One, you're expressing yourself through your own creative energy, and two, you're being less wasteful. It's a win-win to me.
Yeah.
So my next question, well, I want to know how this started. You ended up in Yvonne and Mitchel, and I love to see the growth of things. So you met at Mizzou. Did you go to school for originally?
I was in school for a health science degree.
Okay.
I grew up in a family that's in the healthcare industry, and I just kind of thought that was the path that I was on.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it in school. I loved the classes I was in, but like I said, early on in school, we started this business, and I really liked where it was going. And by the time I graduated, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna pursue this degree anymore. A lot of my friends and people that I had in classes were going to OT school, PT school, and I just didn't really want to be in school anymore. I kind of wanted to see where this business could take us. So right after graduation, I kind of jumped into the deep end and took this on with a full head of steam. But yeah, and Caylin, she was working part-time throughout school, and still is. And now I work a couple days out of the week at a place called Scraps KC.
Okay.
It is a creative reuse center. So a lot of the stuff that we even use on our pieces, I get at this place.
What is Scraps? Is that a thrift store?
It's kind of set up like a thrift store. It's donation based, so businesses or just anyone in the community who is going through their old like craft supplies, anything they can craft with, they can donate to Scraps, I would say. I would check the website to make sure that we are taking the things that you have. but
take
yeah.
a lot, yeah. And going back to the journey thing, while he was going to school for health sciences, I was going to school for journalism, strategic communications, which is essentially just a fancy word for marketing.
Oh,
so that's what So that's what I ended up getting my degree in, and that's what I do now for Yvonne and Mitchel, but also for my part-time job that he mentioned.
Okay.
I feel super blessed because it's really what I'm passionate about, the social media, the content creation. I built our website, SEO, all that stuff. I really, really enjoy. So I'm able to do that with Yvonne and Mitchel and my part-time job, and that's what I went to school for. So I really, really love it. And we met our sophomore year of college and basically started the business almost right away. And I mean, it really just being on a college campus like Mizzou, because it's so concentrated and there's so many people in one small area, when we would wear our stuff or our friends would wear our stuff, you just see someone walk into class and you're like, oh, I like that. Like, what you got on? And you tell them. And really, our business grew only from word of mouth, still to this day.
Oh, really?
I don't think we've paid for any paid marketing at all, because it was just the right place, the right time. Being in that area with our targeted demographic of, you know, it really grew way faster than we thought it would. I mean, we just really started it to sort of explore this new creative side of ourselves and also pay for college. So it was like, we need to make some money to pay for school, but we also want to do something we love. So let's just see if this works. And yeah, it really blossomed at Mizzou, and I owe so much to that school. I met him, I met my best friends, we started the business. I learned so much. The people there were amazing. So I feel like that was really where it all started.
Yeah.
And also a big reason why we're in Kansas City, because he's from Missouri. I'm from the Illinois side of St. Louis. I say St. Louis because it's right outside St. Louis. But because Missouri is where it all started, that's why we felt so passionately about coming here to Kansas City and sort of, like we said, establishing our roots of our business here.
Okay.
To sort of, you know, establish ourselves, because Kansas City was just calling to us, and we love Missouri so much, and we owe all of our growth. And yeah,
I think you're hitting the nail with the hammer right now as well, being in Kansas City with how much it's growing. I mean, there's so much opportunity here, and especially with the mission of that y'all have, is like it's what is needed for the future ahead, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. You know, because like I was telling you before we started, like the whole point of this is to just find the people that you wouldn't see that aren't being marketed or advertised or on the news or anything, to give you all the spotlight so that people can see what everybody's trying to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate that. There is the community here in Kansas City has really blown us away. We've been here for 2 years now. So after we graduated college, I lived at home. He lived at home for a little bit to sort of figure out where we wanted to go and what we were going to do.
Okay.
And, you know, there was something inside of us telling us Kansas City, but then there were a lot of external factors that were making us sort of look different ways. I even had close family members being like, if you want to make it in fashion, if you want to make it in this industry, why do you want to stay in Missouri? You need to go to New York. You need to go to LA. And honestly, I feel like the type of people we are, if someone tells us we can't do something, we kind of want to prove them wrong. Even if it's harder, we want to prove that it can be done if you really want it to be, you know? And also, to me, I was like, you're saying exactly why I want to go to Kansas City, because, you know, New York, LA, those big cities are amazing, but there's also other amazing places that are often overlooked, and I want to shine light on those places, and I want to show that there's just as amazing people and things to do in places like Kansas City. Yeah. And moving here confirmed that. The 2 years that we've been here, it's been so amazing and so cool, and we've met wonderful people like you who are really passionate and purpose driven in what they do. And I think because it is often like an overlooked, or what do they call them, the flyover cities?
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone rides for each other, you know what I'm saying? And we're like, we're in this together, we're gonna help each other out. It's not a dog eat dog world out here. It's you know, you're a part of our community, and we're going to uplift you, and we're going to love you, and we're going to support you. And that's so special and so important for young entrepreneurs who are getting started, because you face so much adversity. You need those people to lean back on. You know what I mean?
100%.
I just talked a lot.
No, please. Talk, the floor is yours.
I told you. She's the talker. I just kind of.
I could tell. But it looks like a synchronized relationship. You guys really feed off each
definitely.
other.
Everything that I'm not, she is, and I feel like it's the same. And kind of with the business too, I do all of the designing, all of the sewing. And she handles all of the social media, all the promotion,
business operations.
Yeah, kind of yin and yang.
Yeah, together. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Yvonne and Mitchel, it sounds very designer. Where'd you come up with the name?
Our middle names.
No kidding.
Yeah. Our middle name is Yvonne. Cool. My middle name is Mitchell, and it didn't really take us that long to get to figure that name out. I don't know, something just kind of rang. When we first came up with it.
It sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds great.
It's authentic to us because it's our name. So
yeah. Also, my granny's middle name is also Yvonne.
Okay.
She spells it with the U instead of a Y, but she's like hands down, one of the most important people in my life. I love her so much. And so my middle name is very special to me for that reason. So it also felt really significant as sort of like an ode to her, honoring her. So, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Are you Ukrainian, Polish?
I'm half black, half white.
Okay,
Yeah.
no kidding. I thought you
Yeah.
were Eastern European for sure.
Oh.
100%. It's the cheekbones.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I thought.
Thank you. I get a lot of questions that are similar to that. I've heard it all. But yeah. Half black, half white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, on top of, to tag along with the designer theme, how do y'all? I have my own opinions about designer, but I want to hear from a designer himself. What do you think about designer clothing? Its impact on the world? Is it necessary?
I think any way that anyone can express themselves and truly be who they are is important. It's what's needed in this world, and if people love, to me, designer is the highest level of clothing production. I don't know. You got low end where it's at just about every kind of outlet store.
Gildan.
Yeah, right.
I hate Gildan.
Are those the
Right.
t-shirts?
Yeah, I hate them.
Right. But yeah, designer is just kind of like the, or that term is supposed to kind of mean like the upper echelon of clothing.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't know if I really like subscribe to that all the way because, well, in terms of like being the highest end, the most like care that goes into things, I think that's true. But I think anyone who makes little alterations on their clothes and things, like they're a designer, that's designer.
For sure.
That's designer clothing.
Okay. Because the reason I ask is because that I've seen some videos about like, well, and what really, really sparked this is because this was right after I asked you guys to come on. And I think it was Balenciaga make a leather cowskin trash bag look.
Oh, I saw that.
You saw this.
I saw that.
Okay, so, and I'm sitting here thinking, and this may be just my own problem as well, but it felt like, what a slap in the face. Like, it does feel like that partially, but then I read about it, and I understood, I learned about the materials that they put into it, but it just confuses me as to why that, like, why have that? It feels like a slap in my face.
It's a juxtaposition.
I don't know. Some things I think are supposed to be those slaps in the faces, and that's just with any like medium, art medium. Like, I don't know. I'm sure people that were viewing some of Picasso's things were like, "Man, this is a slap in the face to like these amazing like
Intricate
portraits and
Very interesting take.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really feel one way or the other about Balenciaga. I love its heritage and things like that. But honestly, kind of getting into this designer talk, like we really don't know too much about.
Okay,
these
you really
designers.
just stay in your lane and you're focused.
Yeah, same with the sewing and things. I really don't have the technical skills that a lot of people do that like went to school for this stuff. I don't do things the same way that they do. I just kind of have the basic skills my mom gave me, and I feel like our creativity together is what has really like brought our business to where it is and has given us the opportunities it has. Yeah, you have anything?
Yeah, I think just we don't have that traditional education, which has sort of forced us to learn this industry our own way. And so obviously, because we're only drawing from our personal experiences and personal inspiration, I think it is really tailored to like our unique perspective, which I appreciate. Yeah. And I do have those moments a lot of the times where, I'll tell Jared, I'm like, I don't know any of these designers, or like, I feel like I don't know anything, because fashion, the industry it can feel, I don't know the right word for it, but there's so much to it. And it can feel, I don't know if prestigious is the right word, but it can be intimidating, pretentious maybe? I don't know. It can feel intimidating sometimes. And I don't know, looking at brands like Balenciaga, it's like,
well, it is exclusive. I mean, it literally is exclusive.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. we don't really have any of those designer brands, so we just try to make things that we think are at least at that level of uniqueness and
Oh,
and
your
things like
stuff
that.
is incredibly like
I
that's
appreciate
that's
that.
your
I
stuff
appreciate
is
that.
unique,
I appreciate it.
and I'm not comparing your stuff to Balenciaga in any way.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
wasn't trying to. I wasn't
Okay,
trying
it's
to-
two complete in my brain. It's two completely different things.
Yeah.
But as a designer, that's what I'm good at is just being curious, asking
No, I
people
love that.
questions.
No, that's
Bring
important.
them on. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
also, I don't know, like it's fun to talk about. Sorry, it's fun to talk about this too, and because it's like the same questions you're asking, we have. 'Cause,
Yeah,
again,
okay.
We really don't know
we
much
ask
about it that
ourselves.
much outside of what we do. So it's nice to have this conversation.
I agree. I agree. So, okay, designer fashion out, but your designer fashion is in. So this is a more technical question. I noticed on one of your social media posts that you like longer sleeves. Why?
This is interesting because can I take credit for this? Is that true? Because I'm like,
Let's see.
because I always tell Jared my entire life I'm taller. I have like longer legs and arms. So finding pants that were long enough for me and shirts, especially while thrifting, was really hard. And so I told Jared, long sleeves are just the way to go. I always like to, curl my hands up in there. Like, the sweatshirts. I don't know. I
Yeah.
always liked them oversized. And so when he started sewing, I would ask him to put longer sleeves, add length to some of the clothes. So I feel like that might have played a part.
Yeah. That definitely played a part. But I guess to get a little technical on the designer side of things, I'm really interested in shapes and silhouettes, and I think a long sleeve juxtaposition. No, but what?
Juxtaposes.
Juxtaposes.
All right,
Maybe.
one of those. But with like a shorter cropped or boxy fit, the shape just flows better. And
Interesting.
yeah, that's kind of how I look at things, more shapes and trying to create different shapes that flow, honestly. And I
Okay.
think the long sleeves,
Okay.
the long sleeves had a nice they had length, while I like to crop things and make them a little more boxy. I don't know. They just play well together.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. There's a boxy torso,
Yeah.
and you like to cut it off a little bit,
Yeah.
and then the length on the sleeves, juxtaposes.
Yeah.
It's a contrast.
Yeah.
I love
and,
that.
And we both have really long arms, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's
So
that's
kind of
the
necessity
thing.
too.
Yeah.
See that I have the exact dude. I have small arms and small legs, so
Do you have to get stuff hemmed?
I should. I never do, but I absolutely should. The medium shirts, the small shirts that fit well on the shoulder, drench my arm, and I hate it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a simple hem. It would fix that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I honestly, to this day, I've never known that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've learned from him, sewing to his capability for me is difficult, but the basics of sewing, of hemming stuff or cropping it, isn't as hard as I thought it would be. And seeing him sort of teach himself as he went inspired me to be like, just play around. There's no pressure and you can do it. It's not as out of reach as you thought, because I thought you have to go to fashion school, you have to know all these terms, but watching him just sort of wing it and learn as he goes, it's not as bad. So you could just look up a few tutorials on YouTube and look into hemming your stuff if you wanted to.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
It's actually not as hard.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, in terms of like winging it, and this is a question at the very beginning I had that you just reminded me of again. You're going to school for, I guess you're kind of in the realm that you were going to study for, but you Jared, are really not even in the same realm at all.
No, not at all.
So I'm sure there was a level of fear to say no college. I want to do this. So what was one or a couple things that compelled you to make that leap to go in your own way and express yourself creatively?
Honestly, I don't know if I would have done it if it wasn't for her and for her like backing me up and just being there and believing like in us together and believing in the business. I don't know. And just the people we were around, they really saw something that I don't even know if we really saw at the time, because we were just kind of doing it. Like Caylin said, as a way for us to like buy groceries and things. So we were just working, and it was a lot of fun for us. But I think some of the people around us, some of our friends were like, you guys like really have something. And some like little opportunities came up, and that kind of boosted our confidence. And I mean, even from a young age, my mom has given me a lot of freedom to pursue like what I truly want. Although she's worked in the health industry her whole life, she's a dental hygienist and personal trainer.
Wow.
Teaches aerobics classes. But so she of course would probably have liked me to follow out all the way through and to get a job in an industry that's a little more secure. But I don't know, Caylin and like what we have together just gave me a lot of confidence to really just try to go for it. And right after school, I kind of just realized like how young we are and how much like time that we actually do have to really pursue our dreams and to really try to make something out of this one chance that we have here.
Yeah.
And even if it fails, like I got her, at least I do now. So we're cool.
No, y'all are a power couple. Y'all, I swear to God, you all are a power couple.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love y'all guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise, this is such a great connection. I will add to that and just say that the confidence, and even still to this day, is something we struggle with all the time. You know, it kind of goes in waves. We just got off of a lower wave where we were, you know, you're second guessing everything. You're like, am I on the right track? Is this meant to be? Maybe this isn't meant to be. And I feel like consistently we're shown that the hard parts in this, even the lowest parts, still outweigh, you know, those maybe quote unquote higher parts that we would experience doing something that we're not truly passionate about, if that makes sense.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? It's the underlying passion and love for what you do will always outweigh everything else, rather than compromising out of like fear or insecurities to do something that might temporarily feel better or more secure. And I don't know. I feel like owning a business is a great test of that, to sort of, you know, put you through a lot of roller coaster emotions, experiences, and see if you can still believe in yourself through all of it.
Yeah, I truly feel that that's where like real life is when you're on that roller coaster up and down. That's those really hard moments and those really good moments are like what we're here to actually feel. And owning a business so far, we've had a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And
what was one of the highs? What was one of the highest highs you've had?
Oh, I know this one.
you go ahead.
I will say it was last year of March. We got to do a collaboration with Vice and Refinery 29.
Vice?
Yeah. Which is something we grew up watching.
Yeah,
and
same.
Even like, and I feel like we've had conversations before years ago of me just being like, I love Vice as a company. Same with him, and like the content they create, and even the way they deliver news. They're just such a cool company. And actually, someone that we both knew at Mizzou now works for Vice, who also owns Refinery 29. And so we made that connection in Columbia. And last year, he reached out to us and said, we're looking to do a project on upcycling, and y'all were the first people that came to mind. So are you down to do an interview and to, you know, try something like this? I was like, are you kidding me? And so originally they were going to do sort of like an upcycling competition with designers from across the country.
Okay.
And then they sort of pivoted. I don't know what made them, but they ended up just coming to Kansas City and doing a special on us and then Scraps KC.
Okay.
We didn't even know Scraps KC existed until that collaboration, and they filmed us going to Scraps and getting materials from Scraps and making stuff out of what we found there. And that was the first time we were like, a place like this exists in Kansas City? We never knew, because we were still new to the city. But when that came out, it really helped our business. We grew a lot from it. And I would say that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, and that whole project was sponsored by Levi's.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know, since our inception, like Levi's has just been a brand that we love to work with in terms of upcycling. Their quality of their denim is gonna live on forever. So that was really cool. Seeing an email that said Yvonne and Mitchel ex Levi's ex Vice Media, like that was really cool.
Surreal.
Absolutely.
Really
So,
cool.
did you have something else?
Oh, I was just gonna say another one. This last Super Bowl, we got asked to make an outfit for a Super Bowl performance. Didn't really go through how we would have wanted because
It ended up getting
we had
delivered in time.
we had a short notice. We were out. We found a piece that I could upcycle. Stayed up all night working on it, and the next day we had to overnight it. And it was supposed to be used in like a fitting the next day. And the fitting is like, will this fit? Will this work for the person who's going to be wearing it? Like Super Bowl, like millions and millions of people watching.
Yeah.
So they got to make sure it's right. And we shipped it out, and it didn't get there in time for the fitting. So it didn't even have like the chance. But
Gotcha.
just being asked that, another email like headline Super Bowl Yvonne and Mitchel, like that was really cool.
That's sick.
I still have the screenshot of the email popping up my eyes. I was like, is this real life right now? What's going on? It's just
Who was it for?
Janae. I don't know. Aiko.
Oh, Jeanette. What?
Yeah.
You were asked to make something for her?
Yeah, and she still has it. That's the thing.
Stylist.
God.
Her stylist has it. We reached out because we were like, hey,
Incredible.
since she didn't end up wearing it, do you plan on sending it back? And she's like, well, Janae really likes the piece. We just haven't had an event to wear it at, so we'd like to hold on to it. So fingers crossed one day, maybe a year, 2 years later, she's wearing it. Who knows? But that's another
That is
thing
so awesome.
that we've listened to her for years, both of us together and individually. And so that was really, really cool.
Now, do you know how they found you? Do you have any idea, or it just came up one day?
I think just social media.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have two pages. We have the Yvonne and Mitchel, and then we have the experiments too. Which,
Okay.
Yvonne and Mitchel is where it all started. So when we first started our business, it was solely Instagram for like the first few years. We didn't even have a website yet. And so that's like the main page. And then once I had the talk with Jared, I was like, we should start selling your one-of-one pieces and incorporating them. He was like, well, I'm just kind of, I'm playing around in the room all day. I'm sewing stuff. I make a few pieces a day, but I don't want to wait and hold off until we can put them in a collection. I kind of just want to have like, an outlet.
Just an outlet to like constantly post on, like, and that
Make it a little
was
more
the
consistent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the inception of experiments, and it's kind of like a portfolio kind of page. I guess I'm kind of just I'm just testing.
Experimenting.
Yeah, I'm experimenting. I'm testing. I'm trying to show my versatility.
Yeah. I think that's where she found us, because a lot of the stuff that he's posted on there has been shared quite a few times, and so I'm pretty sure that her stylist found us on Experiments page or TikTok maybe.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
So, Jared, you seem like and pardon me if this is really off the mark.
Give it to me.
You seem like a guy of a few words. You feel like a thinker to me. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Would you say you're almost to like? Is it the only thing you think about is just creating new stuff?
Yeah, and that was kind of how it's been since a child. And my dream my whole life was to make a living off of like creation. I didn't know at that time what I was going to be creating, and I think clothing is just kind of the first medium that I really like grasped onto. But yeah, I've always been a creator. I've always been in my head. I'm from a town of about 150 people. We have one stoplight. It's called Malta Bend, Missouri.
Where is it?
Malta Bend, Missouri. It's
Malta
in
Bend.
between here and Columbia, right off of I-70.
Okay.
Very, very small farming community. Been my family, well, my mom has been living there my entire life. Yeah, it kind of made me who I am. But just growing up in a town like that, not really having too many friends or like absolutely nothing to do, I think that just kind of led me to being in my head all the time and just trying to make things and yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely a thinker. Caylin does all the talking. Yeah, she's the pretty face. I'm just
You're the guy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So textiles, that's something that, like corduroy, I don't understand why anybody would wear corduroy.
I got some corduroy pants.
I do love corduroy.
And so that leads right into the question then. What is texture? What does that add to a piece?
I think texture a lot like shape. Like there's a lot like shapes. There's so many different kinds, and I like to play with. I like to play with shapes. I like to play with textures, and I like to use like hard materials and really soft materials in the same piece, or things that have ridges and something that's really smooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We like to do hardware and stuff too. I don't know if that really plays into texture, but I'll do a super like soft knit piece with a hard ring that I got off of like a purse or like a tool belt or something. Yeah. Texture is just another thing I like to play with and make people kind of wonder like, why did he think of that? But
A lot of denim too. A lot of denim.
yeah, I love denim. Great texture.
There's just so much you can do with it, you know? And good denim only gets better over time with the wear and the fading and the distressing and the discoloration. So I feel like
That's exactly what I was looking at.
Yeah. We sell a lot of denim pieces.
Yeah, so here's an example of the fade of some denim. These pants were like finished at the end, finished at the edge right here.
Okay.
And I released it, and over time, it got this beautiful wear. But a lot of times with denim, some of these heavier fabrics, they'll already be cut and sewn, and then they go into dyeing, and so that's why some of the dye didn't get all the way in some of these cracks.
Yeah.
Once it's released, it really shows. But yeah, this is I'm really into faded clothing, faded denim. I just love the character it has and the kind of the story it tells. And
Yeah.
What do you mean the story? I see. It's just so out of my element. What do you mean? How can denim tell a story?
I mean, just like these marks on the top of my thighs, you can tell that and like busted out knees. A lot of these people that are wearing these heavy denim pieces were like really hard workers. A lot of farmers. This pair right here is a Wrangler pair, and might have even come from Kansas City, because I'm pretty sure a long time ago there was a Wrangler factory here. And if I'm not mistaken, Kansas City was one of the largest manufacturing cities for Western wear at one point. So a lot of this denim that we find here in the Midwest has been worn by people that are out in the sun, and it gives some beautiful fades, or out just working really hard. And I don't know, when I talk about the story it tells, like I feel like when we put on some of these old pieces, like you can really kind of feel the history, and we're just really about giving it a new life. Yeah.
So talking about renovate or upcycling it. What are I mean, it seems like a really simple question, but for my viewers that may just be tuning in and don't know, what is the detriment of fast fashion? What, I mean, and not only is fast fashion, is there other aspects of fashion that are as detrimental or detrimental as well that we could be aware of?
It's just really overconsumption, which is what fuels fast fashion. And speaking to the detriments of it, there's like three major factors. The environmental factors, to where I can't remember the exact statistic. I'd written an article on this a while ago, so I can't remember exactly what it was, but the emissions total that are released from clothing production are more than aviation and international shipping combined, which is pretty crazy because you think of how much gas aviation and it takes to carbon emissions.
Stuff.
Yeah. And
Ships
so
and all that.
that's just a small sliver. There's so many other alarming statistics that if you just Google the environmental impact of it, it'll really blow your mind because really just within the last 10 to 20 years, clothing consumption has increased more than like 60%, which has a lot to do, I feel, with social media because you're posting more pictures, more people are seeing you online. You want to maintain this image. If you know, we're not like this. I'll wear whatever, however many times. But,
Same.
you know, some people, if they post a photo in an outfit, they want to they want to switch it up. So, because of that factor of posting videos and photos online more often and people seeing you and what you're wearing, you're naturally inclined to buy more clothing. And so to keep up with that higher demand, that's where these fast fashion brands come in and they sell them at a really cheap price. And they, they'll take one design and make thousands of it. And, there's also a social impact too of a lot of the times these garment workers are very underpaid and working in very poor conditions. And
We're talking like sweatshops, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Which also puts them at risk for, sexual harassment and just a lot of poor working conditions child labor that just isn't good. But the reason why that those conditions are like that is because the focus is on getting the consumption out there, getting those clothes out there and producing as much as possible to make as much money as possible, to sell as much as possible. So it's like the priority is on the clothes and the money rather than the people who are making the clothes.
Of course.
And that's just because, on one hand, it's so cool to be living in a generation where fashion is becoming so large in real life and online, but also it comes, with the other side of things, which is the detriments of it all. And so essentially it's just being more mindful about where your clothes are from and how they're made. And because fashion is becoming a lot bigger, sustainability is becoming a lot more important, which is a great thing. And so more businesses are being held accountable for how they make their clothing. And there's a sustainability index. I'm not sure how long it's been around. Fairly new. I want to say maybe less than 10 years, but it's not a requirement yet, I don't believe, for all companies to take part in this index. But it obviously makes your company look better if you're willing to take part in it and reveal your actual sustainability efforts. And so what this index is it's a full report, yearly report that just dives into a business's operations and, how many employees they have, what the demographics look like, what their working conditions look like, what their carbon emissions look like. And then you get a full scope of how that company is actually creating their clothes and the impact that they're making on the environment. And so I think that's really cool because then it makes it easier for just like the everyday consumer like us to learn more and understand more about where we're getting our clothes, because that's not something I ever really thought about before we had this business. I was, I just love clothes. I was like, yeah, sure, Forever 21, we're just shopping, we're having fun. But then,
exactly.
right? It's just like you don't think about it. But then when we started the business and we started to care more about sustainability and how we could help make a difference, that's when I started looking into this stuff. And my mind was blown because it really is. There's so much to it. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Oh, yeah, I think you did a great job.
Thanks.
That's what I'm talking about. She was bringing up stats and things. So.
We need stats.
Yeah.
I did write an article, which is how I know this, because I really enjoy writing. And so for our website, I wrote a few on upcycling fashion because it is fairly new. And so I wanted to make sure, spread the knowledge, share the knowledge. So that's how I know these statistics. I don't just
just not just found stuff up. Yeah.
I was looking them up and doing my research.
and you brought up a point where it's like, because fashion is an extension of your creativity, of yourself, and everybody wants to express themselves, but they also want to be like unique, generally anyway.
Yeah.
And it is important to consider, and this is to my audience, not to y'all, that humans are on the other end of that clothing, and it's so easy to not humanize the product, but it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point now where I'm living on a budget, but I wish I didn't. Of course, everybody doesn't. So I'm trying to figure out where I can spend my money locally.
Yeah.
But I'm also tied to this fact of like, well, I have $20 I can spend, and I
Yeah.
need shorts, so I'm going to Ross.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel it sucks, but it is what it is
It's
at this
life.
point.
That's a reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about that because that is the reality for everyone. I saw this quote because unfortunately where we're at right now, I know it's going to get better, but where we're at right now, sustainable fashion is more expensive because there's a lot more put into it, and sustainable fabrics are a lot harder to come by. It's limited quantity. And so I saw this really unique perspective of like, rather than asking why sustainable fashion is so expensive, why don't we ask why the average person can't afford it? Like there are bigger,
Great question.
like bigger economic issues at large here of like why people can't afford these things that we should all have access to. And so that's way out of our reach. But the happy medium we found was thrifting, which now is more common, thank goodness, and like a lot more people are doing it thanks to like TikTok and Instagram, being able to watch people shop and see the type of things you can find in these stores. But that was why we even got started in the first place, because we wanted to dress cool, we wanted to wear fun stuff, but we couldn't afford it. And so we were like, the thrift stores, if you're willing to spend time and be intentional about it, like you can find some pretty cool stuff, and even brand new stuff with tags still on it, cool vintage stuff. Like thrift stores have a lot. So I think shopping secondhand, if you're unable to afford sustainable fashion options that might be out of your budget, thrifting is always the way to go for sure.
Where are the hot spots? If this is I hope I'm not blowing up your spot, and if I am, please don't say it. But where are some good spots that people can go?
We're happy to share.
Honestly, we love checking out estate sales, yard sales.
Okay.
You ever been to a estate sale?
Never.
Okay.
Always wanted to.
Okay.
But yeah, just any of like the thrift stores around too. Any Goodwill, Salvation Armies. But I think yard sailing and like estate sales are like what we really love the most.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there like a space for like estate sales that you can look up maybe?
Yeah. So estatesales.net.
Of course.
You can. I know.
Estatesales.net.
Estatesales.net. They make it real easy for us.
Yeah.
You just type in your zip code wherever you're at, and the cool thing about estate sales is that sometimes they'll have them during the week. Most of the time they're on the weekends though, and there's different ones every weekend because you only have one estate sale, right? So, it's really usually when people pass on, or if people are just doing a big move and they want to get rid of all their stuff before they move, they'll just be selling basically everything in the house. I'm talking couch, TV, photo frames, clothing, silverware. People have sold food from the fridge before. Like, it gets pretty wild out there. But it's so cool because you get to go inside someone's home and sort of like experience them that way, which is a cool experience. But also you get really great deals on stuff that even at the thrift store might be a little bit more expensive than what you're able to find at the estate sales.
Yeah, with the popularity of thrifting just becoming more and more popular, a lot of thrift stores around here, you can like sign up for like memberships and get like certain discounts. Weekends have like half off clothing days and things like that. So definitely a good option. Goodwill does like a 99-cent day, which I think is Sunday. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that you can find at thrift stores is also has been around for a long time, and I would like to assume that if something's been around for a long time, it's probably going to be around for like it's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of things that were made early 2000s, 90s, like those things were made to last. They weren't really using a lot of these fabrics that we are today. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Estatesales.net. I'm gonna check that out.
No, you really should. There's so many good ones around here too. Every weekend.
A couple more questions that I can think of off the top of my head for y'all. So one, this is kind of a big question, and this is a question that I try to encourage every single person to ask themselves. because I think it leads directly to like who we are, like as an individual.
Okay.
And it is what has creativity done for you, and what do you think it does for kind of the world as a whole? Just expressing yourself in your own creative capacity.
Ooh, that is a good question.
Thank you for that.
That is a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. I feel like I've been asked a lot of questions.
See, I feel like I'm like, I may not seem like it, but Jared, I'm like you in a lot of ways in that I think about a lot of shit all the time.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, I love
Intellectual.
it. Yeah.
I feel like, for me, creativity is so many things. Like, how do I put this? It goes beyond like painting or fashion or singing, like the traditional creative arts that you would, think of that come to mind. Like even the way you deliver mail or like wipe a table, like I don't know, those even actions like that are so unique to you that I think that, to me, the creativity is just like the epitome of the self, which might have been what you just said, but it's just leaning into whatever creative endeavor, whatever passion you have, whatever creativity looks like for you, is the ultimate act of self-love, I think. Because it's just like owning up to who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm communicating this exactly how it's in my head.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%.
Like, does this sound right? But I just feel like it's the ultimate act of self-love. And again, creativity looks different for everybody, but I think it's just leaning into who you really, really are inside. Because creativity, you have to push boundaries, and it makes you uncomfortable. You know, same self-confidence. You build that continuously as life goes on, and creativity is the same way. So I would say that.
Yeah. You asked kind of like what creativity has done for us too in your question, and for me, it's kind of like been my whole life, and what I've prided myself on is like being close to, like Caylin said, that inner self, that soul, and that's kind of where I get my creativity from. Reflecting on past experiences and kind of what I'm going through and what inspires me. Expressing myself through my creativity is my way of showing the world like who I am. And when I feel like that's 100% like my authentic self, I feel like I'm doing the best that I can. And I feel like everyone who's alive should be striving to be the best versions of themselves. And that's really how we're going to change the world. And for me, being creative and expressing myself is where I feel like I really am getting in touch with like who I truly am and why I'm truly here, and that soul. Yeah. I'll also say, like, with what we do, we really do try to tap into that that part of us, because that's where the best creation comes from. That's where the free flowing creative energy comes from, is when you're really surrendering to who you are and using that energy in an outward way of being creative.
Yeah.
Man, great answers.
Good answer.
I mean, I know exactly where you guys are coming from.
Said,
but that's that creativity just flowing right through. That's
right, yeah,
you.
That's kind of what I was talking, like that's what we try to tap into. And
that's what y'all are doing with the podcast, and
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you feel that same way about this. Those endeavors that you just know are so intrinsic to who you are that you just have to do it.
Yeah.
You might not even know why sometimes. You're just being called to do it because it just feels like you.
Yeah, and everything started with martial arts.
Oh.
Like, that's my creative outlet. Like,
wow.
To the extent, like, that's my creative outlet.
Wow.
I think before anything, I'm a curious martial artist. And so I was obsessed, for a while, for 4 or 5 years, to the point I moved to Milwaukee to try and do it professionally.
Oh, I lived in Milwaukee for a summer.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
How'd you like it?
New Berlin.
New Berlin, yeah.
I was there for an internship. It was cool. I was there during the summer, which is peak Wisconsin time,
For sure.
I feel like.
For sure. No, it's okay. I liked Milwaukee, but I think the people there sucked. And I do not care about saying it. Y'all suck.
Milwaukeeans, is that what you call them? Don't come for us.
Yeah. There's like a few Milwaukeeans. Actually, a matter of fact, one of them's coming to visit here in a couple weeks.
They're gonna be like, so what'd you say on the podcast?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, because like it was so much fun out there, and it was just me. I knew nobody. I was like, I'm going to move there. F it. And there was just a couple people that really truly showed me love genuinely, and I'll never forget them for it. And then everybody else sucked.
I'll forget about everyone else, but like
exactly
those core people.
Yeah. So, but you know, that's my art, and that brought me to this point. And something I'm really good at is just listening. I'm really good at listening.
I can vouch for that. Agreed.
Thank you. And just being curious about is for your guys' expertise. I want to know what you guys' opinions are of fashion, of marketing. That's so it means more to me than me coming up with my own opinions about fashion, because I don't know shit. You know
That's
what I mean?
important. That's so cool. That's so inspiring, because we're all here to learn from each other and have these conversations. So it's really cool that you have that mindset.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I felt, in this era of like podcasting is like blown up in the last 12, 13 years. Like,
it's
I
so
was
cool.
like, fuck it.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, anytime you can give someone a voice and really learn from them, like, you're doing the right thing, and so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
Likewise.
you for your service.
Yeah, likewise. I learned about textiles. It's badass.
Not much. We don't know.
No, I took one
still
textile
learning.
class. It was a
still
requirement, and
Yeah.
I was just, I didn't know
if
anything.
you're fact checking while watching this, we
might be getting some stuff wrong. We might be getting some
screw
stuff
it
wrong.
though, because
But
y'all
that's
are
what makes us
trying.
us.
Exactly. Y'all are doing your best. I don't think anybody will doubt that you are doing your damn best, because I've had a couple of podcasts where I'm like, after I said something, I'm like, I don't know if that was a fact, but you know what? I don't care, man. I'm trying. You know what I mean? That's all we got to do is just try.
Imperfections are the best part.
Yeah. I guess we should just probably end on the most grand question of all time, would be creativity.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, that was a good question.
So, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, we were kind of touching on this earlier, of the reducing and reusing, thrifting and stuff, and I really feel like a part of our mission is to kind of inspire anybody in any industry to just use what we already have here. Like, we have enough. We already know how much trash we're creating. Let's find a way that we can use these discarded things and put our creative brains into using what we already have to make something new, instead of making something completely from scratch.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
agree.
Yeah. And it's funny that you bring that up, because I was just briefly going to mention that in case anyone for some reason is like watching this and feeling overwhelmed, because it is a lot of information and it can feel like a lot. This is what we specialize in and like what we're devoting our lives to right now. So, it looks different for us, but for other people who are just getting started, it's one small action. What's that saying? One small, I don't know. I can't think of the quote.
One small step for mankind.
Hey.
One huge.
Wait, that's actually it.
Are you serious?
Maybe it's not. But that fits. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Seriously though, one small step for mankind. You don't have to put the world on your shoulders and try to do it all, because that's impossible, even for us who are like I said, devoting our lives to it. Like, even if for your next event that you need new outfit for, you even try to go to the thrift store, even if you don't find anything, just making that effort to just see if you can buy a shirt or a pair of pants secondhand, and you do that once, that's better than nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to be wary of anyone feeling like pressured to
change the world.
Yeah. It's just one small thing. If everyone did that one small thing times 7 billion, 8 billion, you know what I'm saying? So
100%. How old are y'all?
I'll end all that. 25.
25.
Yeah,
25. Yeah, 27. And I 100% agree with you. It sounds like you and y'all and I had the same kind of mission when we were young, of literally carrying the world on our back.
Yeah.
And so, for my younger audience, listen to them. 100% correct. You do not need to do it all. You do not need to do it all. Because like you said, to put it in perspective, if one person Okay, there's 500,000 people in Kansas City, the city of Kansas City. If every single person put 30 minutes to an hour of community service in once a week, that's 500,000 hours or 250,000 hours worth of labor to do just for the community.
Yep.
It's a small ask, but you know what? And to that point, though, I think the system we live in kind of encourages you to be sedentary after a long work day and get through to the next work day.
Yeah.
So I think there are some issues with the system itself
Yeah.
that need to be addressed, but that's neither here nor there. It all is our community. If we are Kansas Citian, that means you're a Kansas Citian along with the best parts of Kansas City and the worst parts of Kansas City. And if we're people that claim to love Kansas City, we should be looking out for everybody.
Yes, agreed.
Jared, did you have? I thought you might have something to say.
No, I was.
No?
Yeah, I was just head nodding and.
Yeah. Okay.
You're preaching over here.
I'm preaching. Hey,
preaching over
class
here.
in session.
I did just one small thing that's
Yeah.
honestly kind of related, not related. But I was thinking not too long ago, I was like, it's a requirement to get your license plate registration every year. It's a requirement to go to the DMV every couple years. It should be a requirement to at least do like an hour of community service or something, like pick up some trash wherever you reside a month.
Yeah.
Like what if?
It feels like
Anyways.
it should. Well, in South Korea they do. I think it's a mandatory military not sentence, a mandatory military service.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a UFC fighter that he goes by the Korean Zombie who he had to leave the sport for like 2 or 3 or 4 years because he had to
wow.
serve his mandatory
wow.
term. Yeah,
That's a much bigger obligation.
much bigger obligation, right? And interestingly enough, South Korea is not in nearly as much things as we put our hands in as a country, which I find very interesting. But neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there.
Just throwing that in the pond, that rock in the pond.
Just let it sizzle. You can do what you want with it.
Before we sign off, what do you think about tri-blend t-shirts? You like them?
Tri-blend?
Tri-blends? The fabric?
Oh,
Are those like the different colored threads, like heather gray?
Feel this shirt.
Let me see.
What do you think about that
Oh,
one?
stretchy.
I like
stretchy.
that. Yeah, that's a lot like what I have on. Yeah, I like that fabric.
I don't know much about it.
Really, like, even if you do buy something that would be considered fast fashion, if you wear it a lot and you get a lot of use out of it, like that's really what you should be
Is
doing.
tri-blend fast fashion?
I don't know.
You know,
I feel
I'm
like
not sure. I just from feeling that fabric, the stretchiness in it, I
Mm-hmm.
would assume that there's some plastic in it, some synthetic fibers.
Yeah, it's rayon, polyester,
Okay.
and cotton.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
Rayon, no
so
good.
common. That's the thing.
Yeah. 100% cotton would be best, and
Okay.
over
They're so
time that will.
expensive, though.
Yeah, it's really expensive, but over
Okay.
time that will disintegrate
Okay.
and not be here anymore. But some of these other synthetic fibers will be here way longer than we could ever imagine.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that very much. This
Yeah.
is the BMVT.
Oh,
This is
cool.
my
Yeah,
shirt. And so I wanted to get
love
your,
it,
get
yeah.
your opinion on it.
Yeah.
I appreciate
love
that.
the design on it. The logo. Is that your logo? Your
Yeah.
logo? That's
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Okay. I think that's an appropriate place to stop. Is on my own selfish question.
Not selfish at all. We're learning
Yeah.
from each other.
Yeah. No doubt.
We're learning.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So everybody, this was a great podcast. I love this. Yvonne and Mitchel, check them out. Instagram, TikTok, the website, YVONNE and AND Mitchell, MITCHEL. And we'll drop the link below and check them out. How often do y'all drop?
On experiments, we do at least one a week. On Yvonne and Mitchel, though, that's where we post our curated collections, which is usually around once a month, and we'll do
cool.
like big collections with 10 to 15 pieces.
Okay.
But the more one-off, random stuff that he's making is posted weekly on experiments. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm absolutely going to buy one.
we can get you custom. custom.
Yeah, honestly, I'll say I don't really do too much menswear, but yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah, hit us up. Let me know. Ooh, I don't want to like keep this going on, but
No.
women's wear for me is so like experimental, and I feel like I can play around with more shapes and things. Men's wear is a little bit more traditional.
Sure.
And,
He has made
but
some though. So
yeah,
he has
yeah, we have some.
Okay.
Let us
Well,
know.
we'll talk.
And,
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
talk. Actually, everybody check them out, please. What they're doing is amazing, not only for Kansas City, but just the grand scheme of things as a people. Okay. So if you like Be More Ventures, please share the podcast. It's Be More Kansas City Podcast, Spotify, Apple. Share, subscribe, all that stuff. And check BeMoreVentures.org if you want a. I feel almost guilty advertising the tribe.
No.
right now.
No, please, no,
That's
no,
what I
no.
was saying
Please,
earlier. Don't
please,
feel
please,
guilty.
please,
This is our
please.
lives.
Yeah.
But we're just living and
Yeah.
learning. Now you're going to be more mindful. Mindfulness
No doubt
is the
about
key.
it.
Mindfulness
Well,
is the key.
and that's the thing is I thought I was being mindful by shopping USA because this was from
Oh.
Bella
Yeah.
Canvas, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
which
See,
was-
that's
That is more mindful, right? Yeah.
and but there's layers, there's levels to this shit,
Yeah.
as
But
you have
even,
shown me.
even that though is still enough. You don't have to be perfect.
I appreciate
You don't have to be
that.
perfect.
So buy the BMVT.
Yes.
Yeah. For
but-
real.
yeah.
Support the cause
Yeah.
and the community.
For real, all across the board. Everybody you've seen on this podcast is worthy of support. And that's it. I'm gonna stop rambling. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
That was great.
You're just
I'm
so
so
funny.
glad